Hello everybody, welcome back to another video today. Today we talked about the Batman controversy. And within the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game. Now, a lot of people have been criticizing the game, rightfully so in my opinion, because that the handling of the Batman character that people kind of grew up with or have experienced for over 10 years, the handling of his death was pretty much executed poorly, and there's a lot of valid criticism to be made about that. Some people can like the game, and that's perfectly valid. Other people can dislike the game, that's also valid. I just tend to lean toward the side of thinking that the death of the character was probably mishandled. Randomly up on my feed, I basically got this video that's titled "The Batman Controversy is Unnecessary." And today we're going to check out that video and react to it. And regardless of the outcome of whether I agree or disagree with this video, I'm going to go ahead and link the channel down below in the description, because regardless if I disagree with the contents of this video, you might actually like the video or agree with the person. And that being said, I'm going to link, of course, the channel to the original video by the creator of Ola Drop. Pretty much as always, whenever I cover anything ever, people who have disagreements with me don't deserve any hate. You don't go out and harass anybody. Don't go talking shit about anybody. This is all for just some fun. I'm going to try something a little bit different with my channel today, just kind of react to and respond to any arguments I find necessarily to be disagreeable. Yeah, but pretty much that's going to be it. So we're going to go ahead and watch this video called "The Batman Controversy is Unnecessary." And we're going to respond to anything we might disagree with or agree with things that might be valid. So let's get right into it.
Behind Batman Suicide Squad. There's many ways of dealing with passing, and the way it's being dealt with currently, it isn't the right way to go about it, nor is it the right way to do it. The things I've seen on social media tarnishes Kevin's legacy more than what y'all say the game did. And to me,
right here we got a lot of generalization here, at least what I would interpret it to be. He's basically saying a lot of people, or most people online, it sounds like, are actually tarnishing Kevin Conroy's legacy more so than the game did. Which, if we're going to talk about specifically the people who are harassing the developers or sending death threats to developers, that of course is always condemned. People should not be doing that. That's absolutely not okay. And I would argue, well, actually, I would just simply say I would agree that those people are disrespectful toward Kevin Conroy and disrespectful to people in general, because they're also disrespectful to the side of people who just wanted people to criticize how Batman was handled in his death. So if we're going to talk about that, he is right. If we're going to say the people who just criticize the game or disrespecting Kevin Conroy, I think that is not the right thing to do.
the way I think about it is, that's way more disrespectful than y'all saying how the game did Kevin was disrespectful.
Okay, let's hear the arguments then.
The life he left behind. Kevin knew what he was signing up for, and he was okay with that. Do we have to be okay with that? No, we don't. But this is what he wanted the direction for his character to go.
First of all, unless you have any evidence that supports that he knew what he was getting himself into, I would heavily take this statement with a grain of salt across the board. I'm dead serious. I've seen countless interviews about how these things are handled when it comes to people or actors being hired within the game industry, and even across all medias. Like, for example, a lot of the people who get hired from Marvel movies, they have no idea what the script is going to look like until after they are hired onto the project. People get hired and they take jobs for certain reasons, and those reasons would be, like, for example, Marvel is going to give people a kickstart in their acting career, so it's a good opportunity to get your name out there, to get known. Marvel is a huge reputable company with huge popular movies. Of course, people are going to, like, actors are going to take those jobs if they're offered them for the most part. But even within the games industry, like, the characters that come to my mind, of course, is going to be like Lee Everett or Clementine from, like, the Walking Dead games. Dave Fennoy has come out in interviews saying that he did not know what was going to happen to his character until the end of the game. Whenever Dave Fennoy was hired onto the Telltale's The Walking Dead, those episodes were developed episodically, and those episodes, the scripts and everything was changed as feedback came from certain episodes. So when it came to the end of The Walking Dead Season 1, which, spoilers, Lee Everett dies as a character, he did not know about that. And the same thing happens with Melissa Hutcherson, who plays Clementine in The Walking Dead games as well. She gets hired onto the project, they're voice acting, they're going through episodes. They don't even know the end of their character's fate until the conclusion of said stories. This applies to the character, I forget the actor's name, but the person who plays Kenny as well. People who, I think the guy who played Luke as well from the same games also have that. Now, that's just from the Telltale perspective. A lot of actors work with Telltale, but the same thing also applies across the games industry. I'm pretty sure Troy Baker No, I'm pretty sure. I know Troy Baker, who plays Joel from The Last of Us, did not sign on to the first game thinking that his character was going to die. He didn't find out about that until later on. Scripts are usually still in development as they're auditioning people to be hired to play certain characters. So this idea that people are getting hired on, back to what he's saying, knowing what they're getting themselves into is not true. And this is across all industries, not even within the acting industry. People get jobs because they need jobs and industries that they want to get jobs in, and people a lot of the times don't know what they're getting themselves into until they get into the industry. And the voice acting industry is in the acting industry, it's very brutal because a lot of the times people get hired into projects that they don't know what they're to get themselves into. So when he says Kevin Conroy got hired onto this project knowing what the outcome of his character was going to be, or that he knew how the character was going to be written and how he was going to be executed in the game, I would heavily take that with a grain of salt unless evidence was presented otherwise, because in most instances that is absolutely not true if you know anything about the industry and how voice actors get jobs.
I also think you are doing too much. The game wasn't disrespectful to Conroy in the slightest, and using his passing as a tool to attack the game and the developers is more disrespectful in my opinion.
I don't think people are using Kevin Conroy's death as a means to criticize the game. This is a beloved developer, Rocksteady. Okay, people love the projects put out from Rocksteady. People want to go into Suicide Squad liking the game. The game had positive reception up until they started releasing gameplay trailers that was explaining to people the direction the game was going to go into. Suicide Squad has a huge, wide variety of criticisms spanning from the gameplay, spanning from how conceptually this type of game doesn't really work to be a looter shooter. People have criticized the ridiculous, like you can even see it from this pausing screen right now, how absurd the UI for this game is, how boring the enemy design is, how short the game could be, how boring the mission structure is because we're using recycled, horrible mission structures that people didn't even like in games such as Marvel's Avengers. This game has a slew of different things you can criticize about it because it's just overall not a great game. To say that people are for the most part taking Kevin Conroy's death to try to have a way to criticize the game is just not true. And it's just in my mind, a way to deflect criticism of the game because you might like it or you might like the studio behind it.
Towards Kevin's legacy, do you think Kevin would be okay with this? If he was here right now, ask yourself, do you think he would be okay with this?
Yes, I think Kevin Conroy would be completely okay with people criticizing the game, the final product, as long as it was valid criticism about the game itself. No, I don't think Kevin Conroy would be okay with the idea of people harassing or threatening developers behind this game. We move on now. I think this is pretty much the same. Like, I don't know why we keep mentioning, is Kevin Conroy okay with this? Like, it doesn't matter.
Probably the answer is no. He wouldn't be. If anything, he'd probably be upset that us as the fans were acting like this over a video game.
I don't think he'd be upset that people are criticizing a game that's worthy of criticism.
For the way he chose to go out.
Kevin Conroy did not choose to go out the way that he did. And again, unless you prove me otherwise, I don't think he knew getting into this project that he was going to end up dying. Like, Kevin Conroy voiced a Batman from all the other Batman Arkham games, okay? He signed on to those projects. It just, like, in my mind, how I would see it is Kevin Conroy joined this project because he was in good standing with Rocksteady and joined all the other projects. And after he was hired on, he probably was contractually obligated to finish the game. It's not one of those things where he's not just one of those people that can just leave the game midway through. Especially when, like, it's not just like the Rocksteady founders or the developers who were, like, part of the OG games left. I think once Kevin Conroy was a part of the game, he had to basically finish it. Not always in all contracts, but I think in some contracts you do have to do that. This idea that he picked this ending is not true. There's a reason why he's not a writer. He's just hired to do the voice acting part and play whatever character that they tell him to play.
He joined the project on his own. Nobody forced him against his own will to do this. He wouldn't have chosen to
Yes, he made a choice to take a job. True.
work on it if it wasn't a good story for his character.
That's not true. People don't know what happens to the character a lot of the times. People audition for characters that they don't know what's even part of it. Audition scripts don't even include much about characters outside of basic traits when they try to find people who know how to properly voice act the character that they want them to.
You also have to realize Kevin knew the ending that Batman had and signed off on it. Whether
That's not true. You don't know that to be true unless you prove it otherwise. And most instances in this industry, people don't know anything.
People like it or not, Batman's story ended, not Kevin's. Stop using a dead man's name as an excuse to hate the game and to attack these developers that put it.
People are not using a dead man's fate to try to have a reason to hate on the game. Again, people have tons of criticism of the game overall, not just the way that Batman's death was handled. I don't know why we're generalizing here. It seems like we're generalizing heavily here to say that people are only trying to criticize the game off of the back of Kevin Conroy's death.
A lot of time, and they even have a big team. Like when I was watching,
nobody cares. Let's be honest here. You don't buy products that you don't want to consume. You don't eat foods you don't like. You don't go out and buy anything, or you don't buy or play video games you don't like. You don't go to restaurants that have bad reviews. You don't. People listen. When it comes to the service industry, where you are providing any sort of product to customers and you're asking for their dollar, nobody gives a shit about what happens to the developers or happens to the people behind the scenes. Of course, to some extent, we are sympathetic and we don't want people to have to needlessly lose their jobs. But if we cared so much about people, even when the product that they're trying to give you is bad, we would be buying things that are bad all the time. But we don't do that. Like, so the same person who wants to say, well, what think about the developers and how hard that they worked on the game? Well, they didn't make a good game. They didn't make a good game, so why are we going to buy a game that isn't good? Why would I waste my hard-earned dollar to support people who didn't make a good game when they weren't trying to make a good game? Or maybe they were trying to make a good game, but still it just missed the mark. I don't go to restaurants that try to make good food but fail, okay? This same person who's making this claim here, I guarantee you, because it's just a fact of life, doesn't care about how this applies to other industries too.
Disrespectful is towards Kevin's legacy, but also the developers that put in a lot of time and effort to make this game for us as the players to enjoy.
Yeah, and I think that, and I praise developers who try to make a game good, but at the same time, if the game isn't good, I don't praise you for that. Also, it's not even some of the developers' faults. A lot of the time, it's project leads and publishers who turn out games to be bad. And in this case, it was Warner Brothers who, I'm pretty sure, spearheaded this game into the ground. So yes, we're going to still criticize it even if the developers behind it tried.
And actually get the experience. It's something different. Yes, it might not be the OG Arkham games, but it's something different.
People don't care that they try something different. People cared about the game taking such a huge leap in a direction that didn't make conceptually sense that made the game bad. Rocksteady is not a live service developer. For them to try to make a live service game on the back of their open world games, single player games, and then they try to make it a looter shooter, even after we've seen the rise and fall of games such as Anthem, Marvel's Avengers, etc., it probably isn't a good idea to do this. And they were criticized for it years ago, and they made no efforts to change the course. They were too set in their ways, and they were going to finish this game the way it was. And of course, if this is the way you're going to interpret and take feedback from the community, this is just the reaction you're going to get.
Not every hero gets a happy ending.
People don't care about heroes getting happy endings.
Hell, look at the Green Arrow.
Oh God.
I don't remember much about his death.
If we don't remember much about his death, then why are we using him as an argument to defend your point?
But do you think... well, hold up.
At least
There's
he
a lot of
realizes
people that was upset
great.
with Iron Man's death in Avengers. They didn't like it.
And speaking of heroes, who people don't expect heroes to get to like survive all the time or happy endings. Again, I'll refer back to Lee Everett from the Telltale's The Walking Dead. He is a protagonist hero character that people like, who had a bad ending. He died, okay? But the way that they handled his death had so much more respect for the character. Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2 had so much respect for his character, despite if you chose to play him with a morality that was good or bad. He still had a good send-off of the character. This happens all the time in all the industries. Characters will die, but as long as you treat important characters with the level of respect that they deserve in terms of how you kill them, people don't care if your heroes end up dying sometimes. People want to see it done well.
But it made the movie what it was. It gave the story the balance it needed.
People love Avengers Endgame with Iron Man's death. I don't like, if there is criticism, it's a vocal minority.
To sacrifice himself. I mean, there's a lot of heroes that die in movies, shows, comics.
True.
Like Superman, Spider-Man.
True. So why do you think people are criticizing this death versus all the other deaths of heroes or characters that people like? It's because of the way it was handled.
And Supergirl and all this shit. There's a bunch of these characters that die, but I don't hear nobody complain about it.
Because they were handled a lot better than Kevin Conroy's Batman.
I don't understand that, you know.
How do you not understand it?
When it comes to heroes, They want them to be sent off in the most heroic way possible.
Well, that's not true, because you just contradicted that a second ago by acknowledging that there's a lot of heroes and characters that people like that die. People are not complaining about it. The people only complain because this death was handled poorly. Come on, this is Arkham Batman, okay? This is Kevin Conroy's Batman. He literally beats the ass of like all the villains around him all the time without a flinch. For him to get shot on a parking bench from Harley Quinn, who got her ass whooped countless times, is a bit funny. It's a bit dumb. The game does not represent Kevin Conroy's Batman's skills and abilities the way it should have been. And he doesn't get the death that the character deserves after 4 games, actually. Arkham Asylum, City, Night, and Origins.
And that's the only way they can have a good ending to their character dying. And I feel like that's just, that's wrong. A hero doesn't have to go out fighting. That's my theory.
You're right, but characters who have fighting being a huge part of their character should go out fighting. Joel from The Last of Us Part 2, he went out fighting. The death was handled pretty poorly, but he was a character at least went out trying his best. The only unfortunate part was he was put in a position where he couldn't really respond well enough, which is another reason why that criticism was bad, because Joel's death in The Last of Us Part 2 wasn't handled well. But Kevin Conroy's Batman is literally a character who's an incredibly genius fighter. Playboy, billionaire, okay? For him to go out without much of a fucking fight, for him to just get shot on the parking bench is a bit disrespectful for his character. Lee Everett, again from The Walking Dead, or Arthur Morgan, they went out fighting for their lives. These characters who had to do that. It made sense for them. Not all characters have to go out fighting, but characters who are built around having perseverance and like post-apocalyptic worlds or or they're like heroes of some sort, they should probably go out fighting or go out in a way that is a bit more dramatic for them, for their deaths, so people can feel like that their characters are respected. This idea that for some reason, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but if we were to take, for example, this is going to sound really silly, if we took like Dora the Explorer, and we made a live action film of her, and she were to die at the end, she probably wouldn't need to be fighting for her life. She probably would just at least need to have if people, so many people love and care about the character, just a death that gives her the time and is respectable and is emotional and gives her the time of day. She doesn't have to be fighting, but Batman's character is built around that arc. He arguably should be. It's a period end of the sentence.
That's my opinion. The hero doesn't have to go out
I
fighting
respect
like
your
they did in the
opinion.
beginning. They just don't. There's no point to use a man's death as a source of our frustration. Do you think Kevin knew he was going to pass away? No. I doubt Kevin even knew he was going to pass away. If anything, Kevin kept living life even when he knew he had cancer at the age of 66. He kept fighting. He lived every day just like we would.
I'm sorry. Oh, hold on.
He didn't let that cancer consume him and let.
So we acknowledge that Kevin Conroy got cancer. And you know what cancer Kevin Conroy had? He had colon cancer. If you didn't know that, a quick Google search would fix that for you. Even if it wasn't colon cancer, let's be honest with ourselves here. Most people who get cancer don't make it, okay? People who get cancer, part of the biggest steps in people's lives is when they hear that they get cancer, they have to go through that whole grieving period and acceptance period of understanding that they're probably going to die. Cancer does not have a cure for it at the moment. We have ways to try to keep people alive with a cure, but these things are not super highly effective. To say that Kevin Conroy didn't have a good idea that he might have died, I don't think is true. I think everybody who has cancer has to put up with that fact. I think it's honestly not sympathizing or understanding the experience of people who have cancer. It's like almost invalidating to suggest that they get it and they don't think they're going to die like it's just any other disease or illness. It is a huge deal. People are going to get cancer. People are going to have to go through some of the hardest moments of their life trying to cope with the fact that they're probably not going to make it. I think Kevin Conroy knew that was going to happen.
Let him stop him from doing what he wanted to do.
Good. You should not let an inevitable fate stop you from being happy, from doing things that you love. And Kevin Conroy, at the end of the day, despite on borrowed limited time, probably just wanted to do something for the fans, for his character.
Kevin didn't know he was going to pass, guys. And neither did the developers. Do you really think the developers knew he was going to pass? And do you think...
I mean, they created an entire section of the game to be able to dedicate, some honor and some thank yous to Kevin Conroy. I think they kind of knew that. Also, a lot of people are speaking about how the game's development was rushed because of Kevin Conroy's condition. They had to rush a story out to try to get his voice lines, or even if they didn't try to rush it out. They probably didn't get to create the story they necessarily wanted one for one because they probably only had so many lines from Kevin Conroy before he passed. I don't know why we're acting like that Kevin Conroy's addition wouldn't impact the development of the game. Of course it would.
They did this on purpose. No. The developers did not do this to cause an uproar of people being mad and frustrated towards the game and the developers. Kevin signed off on this.
He didn't sign off on this. Kevin Conroy, as a voice actor, has no say on what happens to his character.
This is the ending I think that Kevin wanted for his character to go out.
That's not... Even if Kevin Conroy agreed that his character could die, I don't think he would agree with the way it was executed.
And I don't doubt that for 1 second. If anything, I believe Kevin went to that studio, and when he read that script and saw, he agreed upon this ending. And I've seen a lot of people saying,
no,
okay, well...
he had to probably come to terms with the ending. And even then, even if he said he agreed with it, who cares? Listen, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people in your life, right? And this goes to the audience. There's going to be a lot of people in your life, or there's probably going to be somebody in your life who will think, listen, that you will have an opinion about, or you're going to wish for an outcome for that person despite what they actually want, because at the end of the day, not everybody makes good decisions and not everybody's opinions are going to align with yours. So there's going to be somebody in your life who has an opinion about something, or has a conclusion that they come to about something, or make certain choices that you're going to disagree with. And just because they themselves think that and believe in what they say does not mean that you want that for that person. Why? Because it might not be correct. So what I'm trying to say is Kevin Conroy can be fine and happy with the character's execution, but it does not mean that he's right about that. It does not mean that people cannot criticize the way that his character was handled. People love Kevin Conroy. People don't care about what his opinion is on at the conclusion of his character. People want what's best for his character, even if he, let's just say it was true, disagreed with the audience. People aren't going to care. He could say it's good, but people are going to still say it's bad. I don't know what we're complaining about here. It's not like everybody's going to suddenly be like, yes, guys, Batman's death was okay because Kevin Conroy said it was okay. That's not how life works.
You have to understand, actors have a choice when it comes to choosing certain roles. They have a choice. They don't have to go with that role if they want to. If they don't
but a lot of the times in these auditions, people don't necessarily have all the information about what's going to be with their character until after they're hired. I'll reference Troy Baker here as part of the Last of Us documentary for The Last of Us 1. He mentioned the fact that he was not aware of the different places he would have to go as an actor to perform certain scenes. Like whenever Joel dies with Sarah in his arms at the beginning of The Last of Us Part 1, he didn't know that, and he really wasn't expecting the amount of takes and the amount of times he had to try to perfect that scene and the places he had to go as an actor to do that. Again, we're assuming so much here. You acted like the game was complete, and they presented all this information to the actor before he signed on to it, which is not true.
Then they won't.
Just not how it works in the industry.
And that's how it goes. It ain't like you're just hired for a role, and that's it. It don't. I mean, honestly.
Okay, does this video get any better? I like how I spent 25 minutes on 4 minutes, but there's so much said here that just was wrong.
What was going to happen for Batman? But this doesn't mean that this is the end of the Batman's legacy. No. Batman's legacy...
Yes, Batman's legacy does not end, because despite what happens to popular actors, corporate greed just allows people to go ahead and rehire, recast characters. I mean, listen, like this, we are upset for Kevin Conroy's Batman. Nobody's saying that Batman as a whole is completely dead as a character. There's a lot of different media with a lot of different actors who have portrayed Batman's character. So this doesn't matter.
Who's on, and so does Kevin's. Kevin's legacy will always be remembered and continued on in so many ways. Yeah, I mean, you can't be mad about how a death affects you.
Yes, you can. If you're anticipating a product and you have paid for that product, or even if you didn't pay for the product yet, if you're anticipating a product and it comes out bad, you have the right to be upset about it. You can be upset about it. I don't know why we're saying we can't do that.
You're using a man's death and an in-game death as a reason and an excuse.
No, it's not. The game overall is bad. in many different ways, but people can be upset by Kevin Conroy's death and care about it.
To act the way y'all do on social media, because I've seen a bunch of people threatening the game developers,
and that's horrible.
Over this.
That's horrible.
And that's
People
what's
should not
sick
do that.
and twisted.
That's
do
horrible.
you think Kevin
You're right.
Conroy would have wanted this? Do you think he would want y'all to act like this?
Nope.
No.
The same way that nobody can should be condoning anybody from The Last of Us Part 2 for threatening the developers, or even the actresses. Like, I think Laura Bailey was threatened a lot by people because of her portrayal of Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. People should not be doing that. Absolutely right. People should not be harassing or threatening people over the outcome of these things. But people do have the right to be like, yeah, this game's bad because of this.
Play it. If you don't want to see be put in a position as a character to have to kill Batman, then you shouldn't be playing the game at all.
I mean, to be fair, the game is called Suicide Kill the Justice League. Although they're alluding that you're going to be killing the Justice League, they're not necessarily saying who you're going to be killing. Number one. Number two, people, like, I don't know why people keep saying if you don't like it, don't play it. That's exactly what people are doing. People are saying, hey, I don't like this, so I'm not playing this game. And right now we have this video complaining about how people are not supporting the game because they have a criticism or a complaint about the way that Kevin Conroy's Batman was executed, the death of the character. And the game has a whole slew of issues. So, I mean, listen, guys, I've kind of skimmed through a bunch of this video here. Everything kind of repeats itself. This guy's overall opinion is that he doesn't like people who are harassing anybody or threatening people off of the death of a character. I could agree with that. He's also has a good point about how people should probably not support games that they don't like, which is also something I agree with. And then also, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. And he also thinks that the game has a bit more to offer in terms of content. And you know what? That is an opinion that most people don't share, but it's a respectable, valid opinion to have. So if this game is going to be suitable for certain people, I hope those people play it and be happy with it. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this style video. And that's it. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys all next time. Peace out.